The court is in silence. All eyes on Gwendlyn as she stands to speak. No one anticipated what she's going to say. A revelation so incendiary it will cost someone $920,000. There's more behind her composed voice than meets the eye. And today the Brown family will discover how ruinous a lawsuit can be. Who will make it out of this court battle alive? Stay with me because what unfolds next will be shocking. The sun streams in through the courthouse windows in Salt Lake City, casting lengthy shadows on the highly polished marble floors. Within the courthouse, the room becomes quiet as the observers settle into their seats. Cameras snapping softly, reporters whispering to one another. The air carries the faint scent of polished wood and paper, the sterile smell of a courtroom infused with the stress of a family poised. Gwendlyn advances, her heels clicking loudly on the floor. Her eyes sweep the room to alight on Kody Brown, who sits frozen in the defendant's chair, his complexion white under the harsh light of the courtroom. Meri, Janelle, Christine, and Robyn stand nearby, their faces inscrutable yet strained with feeling. Behind them, rumors spread like a mad undercurrent. No one is quite sure what Gwendlyn has planned, only that her lawsuit has shaken the family to its very foundation. I know the severity of this case. Gwendlyn starts, her voice firm, eerily calm, but the truth must be revealed. The documents, the contracts, the vows made, all that cannot be pushed under the rug anymore. She cracks open her briefcase and pushes a heavy folder across the table. The judge looks down at her, his eyebrows furrowed, obviously interested. Kody leans in, speaking in a hushed tone to Robyn. Do you think she's bluffing? He speaks tightly, with a low tone. Robyn leans her head, her fists unconsciously clenching in her lap. She knows better. Gwendlyn is thorough, calculating, and each move she makes in this courtroom is intentional. You won't believe the secret Gwendlyn shares next. It shifts everything for the Brown family. Gwendlyn's testimony starts with little, seemingly trivial details: emails, letters, and financial arrangements. Nothing looks revolutionary at first sight, but as she reads each paragraph out loud, the gravity of her words starts sinking in. The room gets tight with suspense. Even the judge leans forward, visibly interested. The stakes are evident. Someone in this room has been meticulously concealing the truth, and every sentence Gwendlyn says brings them nearer to discovery. Christine's jaw tightens, a flicker of fear in her eyes, while Meri's hands tremble slightly, clutching her purse. Even Janelle, who tries to remain composed, feels a knot of anxiety twist in her stomach. Every word is a hammer, striking at old alliances, old promises, and old trust. Outside the courtroom, the whispers turn into speculation. The journalists pick up on every detail, every reluctant look, every soft sigh. Twitter will go crazy once today's hearing concludes. But in these chambers, nothing is more significant than the drama unfolding. While Gwendlyn takes a moment to permit her next batch of documents to be examined, the courtroom waits with bated breath. Kody's attorney whispers urgently, shuffling through the pages, searching for a means to challenge the increasing evidence. But Gwendlyn keeps a calm demeanor, eyes piercing, surveying the courtroom like a hawk eyeing its victim. The initial witnesses are summoned. Their accounts are minor, almost standard, until Gwendlyn expertly questions them, shedding layers of fact and bringing out inconsistencies deliberately hidden. Kody squirms in his seat. Every detail is a pinprick, reminding him that the walls of concealment are closing in on him. Meri is caught in Gwendlyn's sight, and for a moment, their eyes meet. There's an understanding there, an unspoken nod that the stakes have risen higher than anyone first thought. All family secrets, all backroom deals, all hushed conversations are suddenly in danger of being revealed. The air in the room is tense, almost stifling. Before the morning recess is even called, whispers fill the air like a tidal wave. Individuals exit the courtroom, abuzz with rumor and disbelief. But the Browns sit silently, each of them lost in thought, trying to come to grips with the fact that Gwendlyn's very staged testimony has already started to pick away at the carefully built veneer of the family. And as the doors close behind the last of the spectators, Gwendlyn leans back, a faint, almost imperceptible smile on her lips. She knows the most shocking revelations are still to come. What Gwendlyn reveals after the break will leave everyone in the courtroom reeling. Don't blink, or you'll miss it. The courtroom resumes after the morning break, the light now striking differently across the highly polished floors, casting long, moving shadows up the walls. The mood seems thicker, more charged, as if before a storm. Gwendlyn gets to her feet once more, her face serene but her eyes cut sharp, a hunter surveying her domain. Everybody realizes that what's going to happen in the next hour may set the fate of this $920,000 judgment hanging over the Brown family like a thundercloud. As the court clerk bellows out the beginning of the session, Kody squirms in his seat. He has been getting ready for this day for months. Months trying to second-guess every argument, every question, every trap. But he's starting to see that Gwendlyn was 2 steps ahead the whole time. Her lawsuit wasn't merely a lawsuit to say, it was a carefully constructed maze. And each member of the Brown family is now crawling through it with their own frights, regrets, and lies. Gwendlyn begins calmly, almost chatty, with a string of emails between herself and Kody. On the surface, they are mundane, polite letters regarding financial matters and domestic duties. But as she reads, subtle cues begin to emerge. Tightly constructed sentences, dates that don't match, commitments conveniently kept. The courtroom starts to hum softly, a charged undertone simmering beneath the polite veneer. What Kody believes is a minor conflict is on the verge of becoming an emotional and monetary nightmare. Christine hunches forward, eyes tight, lips drawn together. She realizes that these emails might bring to light more than the legal technicalities. They might expose underlying alliances and betrayals within the family as a whole. She fidgets restlessly, looking over at Robyn, her face set tight but pale. The tension between the wives has always been tenuous, poised on an invisible wire, and now it would snap completely. Gwendlyn hesitates, her words sinking in, then goes on with papers about financial dealings, receipts, and contracts that Kody had thought were confidential. The judge's eyes dart between papers and Kody, his face unreadable. But the people in the courtroom notice the slight clenching of his jaw, the faint furrow of his brow, the way his fingers grip the armrest. Unspoken tells of discomfort. Meri shifts in her seat, a hand trembling slightly as she tucks a strand of hair behind her ear. She had always been the quiet observer in the family, the one who rarely spoke up. But now, every secret, every slight betrayal, every unspoken conflict is being illuminated under the harsh light of scrutiny. She swallows hard, her thoughts flashing back over years of hushed words and secret trysts, all now smelling of possible evidence in Gwendlyn's carefully laid trap. Stay close. The next bombshell will rock the very foundations of the Brown family. Gwendlyn's first witness is called an ex-accountant who used to work with Kody and his companies. The accountant, his hands trembling, clears his throat and starts to outline discrepancies in the books that initially appear insignificant. But with Gwendlyn's cautious prodding, they gain relevance, suggesting clandestine expenditures, secret transfers, and covert manipulation of funds intended for some family members at the cost of others. Kody's lawyer leans forward, whispering advice, but it's clear even he is struggling to maintain control. The courtroom air grows thick with tension. Every question Gwendlyn asks is precise. Every answer she elicits a calculated step toward unraveling the truth. The Brown family sits in silent terror, their own complicated history of fragile alliances now unfolding in public, before strangers, journalists, and a judge who becomes more and more fascinated by the drama that is playing out before him. Robyn's face sets. She had worked to keep peace in the family, to be a stabilizing influence through decades of polygamous complication. But now the fissures in that carefully built facade are beginning to open. She knows Gwendlyn's plan is not solely about winning in court. It's about putting on display every fault line, every emotional crack, every camouflage tension that has characterized the Brown family for years. Morning advances with Gwendlyn producing more documents, contracts with confusing clauses, bank statements, text messages that disclose subtle but telling manipulations. Each new exhibit seems to fall like a tiny bomb, jangling nerves and trying loyalties. Even the judge looks taken for a moment off guard, holding each page with careful deliberation. Buckle up. What Gwendlyn next uncovers will shock even die-hard Brown supporters. At one moment, Gwendlyn puts a photo on the document stand, an apparently ordinary picture of Kody and one of the wives in a personal moment, but she leans in closer, highlighting discreet monetary conversations that had taken place in that room, things that Kody had believed would go unnoticed. The hushed conversations of the courtroom rise to louder levels, tension building to nearly intolerable heights. Christine's breath catches hard, her fists clenching. Her head whirls with the implications, not just legal consequences, but personal betrayals. The family image so meticulously built up over decades of reality TV now appears tenuous, vulnerable, at risk. Each professional smile and posed encounter from the show is instantly hollow-sounding. Each whispered argument and decades-old anger potential legal ammunition in Gwendlyn's arsenal. Meri looks at Janelle, whose face reflects her own combination of fear and resolve. They have all witnessed the authority Gwendlyn exercises in court, and now, their own strategies, alliances, and defenses, which they developed internally, are being tried out in real time. It's like the family is walking through a minefield without knowing where the next explosion will occur. The next thing may totally redefine the fate of the family, and nobody is prepared. Gwendlyn pauses intentionally, allowing the tension to grow. She fixes Kody with a calm, piercing stare. These papers, these contracts, this whole series of events. It was not mere oversight or miscommunication. Someone deliberately deceived the family. And it's all here. She indicates the stack of evidence on the table. And the monetary consequences. They are enormous. And inevitable. Kody's face whitens some more, his hands shaking a little. He had expected confrontation, expected to testify, even expected fighting, but nothing had prepared him for the cold, deliberate tact of Gwendlyn's presentation. It's like every secret, every avoided conversation, every deliberately sidestepped confrontation over the years is being used against him, not in rage, but with cold, calculating precision. Robyn leans in close, whispering frantically to Kody, "We must be watchful. Every word counts now." But Kody hardly hears her, overcome with a whirl of fear and incredulity. He knows the $920,000 judgment hangs over the family like the sword of Damocles. But Gwendlyn's testimony has made it unavoidable. What follows will have everyone in the courtroom questioning everything they believed they knew. The afternoon session starts with Gwendlyn sharing the most emotionally explosive portion of her testimony. A series of private letters between members of her family that artfully reveal underlying resentments, unstated conflicts, and private grievances that have fermented over the years. The letters are innocuous enough on the surface, courteous, even affectionate. But Gwendlyn's skillful analysis lays bare the underlying tension, the subtle machinations, the silent battles for influence and control within the family. Christine's hands tremble as she reaches for her water, swallowing hard. The emotional weight of the letters, the evidence, the courtroom drama. It all presses down on her like a physical force. Meri's eyes glisten with unshed tears. Memories of old arguments and long-forgotten conflicts resurfacing in painful clarity. Even Janelle, the one who tends to remain objective, gets a tight knot of tension in her chest when she sees how deeply this testimony wounds into the center of the family. Gwendlyn doesn't hurry. She walks slowly, speaking slowly, making sure that every detail is comprehended. She lays out one last batch of papers for the day, a meticulous report of financial activity that is directly linked with promises unkept and trust violated. Kody's attorney tries to interrupt, but the judge motions him away, obviously enthralled with the painstaking build of the case. At the conclusion of Section 2, tension is almost unbearable. Each member of the Brown family is exposed, vulnerable and unsure. The courtroom itself appears to be holding its breath, sensing that something seismic is happening within the walls. Gwendlyn has pieced together step by step the veneer of acceptance and pretense, stripping away from the family a private and public life that is now forever caught up in the mire of legal and emotional strife. Tomorrow the biggest bombshell will drop, and it could transform everything for the Browns. The courtroom lighting flickers slightly as the afternoon session drags into the evening, casting an almost filmic sheen over the highly polished floors. A distant thrum of air conditioning achieves little to soothe the tension. The air is charged, every beat of the heart seeming magnified in the heavy, quiet room. Gwendlyn stands again, her stance tightly in control, radiating an unflustered calm, that contradicts the hurricane she is ready to unleash. All eyes are on her. Even the judge, normally detached and level-headed, leans forward, intrigued by the accuracy of her method. Kody sits stiff in his chair, fingers drumming on the armrest, jaw clenched white. He's been in courtrooms before. He's dealt with disputes, negotiations, even media glare, but never quite like this. There's a precision that's almost surgical to Gwendlyn's case. Every word, every piece of paper, every clever glance, has been crafted to deconstruct well-oiled stories and expose the subterranean cracks of the Brown family. What Gwendlyn uncovers next will slice to the core of the family's deepest secrets. And no one is ready. Gwendlyn points to the day's first witness, a former family aide who worked closely with Kody for years. Their hands shake as they make their way to the stand, eyes hastily darting back and forth between the courtroom seats. Gwendlyn's inquiry is light at first, nearly banter, but with each response, cracks in the previously unblemished facade are exposed. She guides the witness through budgets, emails, and texts that imply decisions were made behind closed doors. Decisions that favored certain family members at others' expense. Christine's eyes narrow, lips tightened as she attempts to cover her rising alarm. Robyn leans forward, speaking in hushed tones to Kody, but he's already gone lost in what the implications are. Every new discovery is like a miniature earthquake, trembling the foundation of deeply ingrained assumptions. The family is no longer simply dealing with a monetary judgment. They're dealing with years of disguised facts and insidious betrayals covered over carefully. The witness hesitates, swallowing hard, and then offers the testimony that causes ripples in the courtroom, a string of throwaway remarks by Kody over the years that, when set side by side with the papers, imply manipulation and purpose. Gasps run silently through the audience. The judge raises an eyebrow, interested. Even experienced journalists scribble wildly, recognizing they are seeing something historic. You won't believe whose ulterior motives are going to be revealed. The shockwave will hit the farthest recesses of the family. Gwendlyn next addresses personal dynamics. She offers carefully selected text messages sent between Kody and various family members. Texts that at first glance appear harmless, but with her interpretation, show subtle yet important tensions. One implies favoritism, a second implies hidden resentment, and a third implies decisions being made without a group consensus. Tiny fissures in the well-faceted image the Browns have maintained for years. Meri's fingers clutch the edge of her purse, her knuckles white. Memories flood back, arguments long buried, quiet nights filled with frustration and uncertainty, moments when trust had been questioned but never addressed openly. She feels the weight of every hidden conversation and suppressed emotion pressing down on her, amplified by the public exposure of this courtroom. Robyn quote. Guess face sets, a blend of fear and determination passing over her features. She had always done her best to be the stabilizing influence within the family, keeping the peace and together, but now even her efforts appear meaningless. Gwendlyn's careful plan is unfolding the very dynamics she struggled so hard to manipulate. Wait for it. The next turn of events will render even the most devoted family member speechless. The tension mounts further as Gwendlyn presents a new batch of documents. Contracts that were allegedly secret contracts which are contrary to past utterances made under oath. Kody rolls back in his chair, eyes widened in amazement, as he comprehends the magnitude of what Gwendlyn has discovered. The $920,000 judgment hangs over him like a storm cloud, but the emotional toll is far more shattering. It's the betrayal, the careful exposure, the public unraveling of family secrets, that shakes him to his core. Christine's face is stretched tight with emotion, her hands shaking slightly as she struggles to keep her composure. She shares a fleeting look with Janelle. There's a silent understanding between them, a shared recognition of mutual vulnerability and common fear. Both women are stung by exposure, the manner in which long-buried feelings and inner conflict have been exposed for public consumption. Gwendlyn's voice is soft, but authoritative. As she moves into the most incendiary section of her case, she produces a sequence of confidential letters among family members, letters that had lain hidden for decades. Innocuous they seem at first glance, polite, friendly, everyday. But under her direction, the letters reveal resentment, manipulation, and betrayals that go to the heart of the family's relationships. Stay tuned. The next confession will forever alter the family dynamics. The letters spark emotional responses around the room. Meri blinks away tears, her thoughts whirling through all the private fights, all the ancient conversations now returning in agonizing clarity. Kody's hands shake a little on the armrest. He's always assumed he juggled the family skillfully, but now it's apparent that mistakes, whether witting or not, have left him exposed. Robyn's jaw clenches, a spark of determination flashing in her eyes as she understands the struggle is not merely economic, it's emotional, and it will strain loyalties and relationships to the breaking point. Gwendlyn doesn't stop. She lays out a chronology of events, painstakingly detailed, displaying interconnections between the documents, emails, and letters. Each item of evidence piles on, building a web of implication that the Browns can no longer brush aside. The courtroom falls quiet save for the occasional rustle of papers, the soft hum of scribbling from reporters, and the deliberate, measured cadence of Gwendlyn's voice. As the meeting progresses, Kody's attorney tries to intervene, but Gwendlyn is one step ahead, firing back with probing questions meant to point out inconsistencies and pin down assumptions. The Brown family sits in stunned silence, seeing that all those years of clandestine maneuvering, silent negotiations, and unspoken hostility are now laid bare. There's no place to hide. What follows will come as a shock to the family and audience. No one would have expected this surprise. The most poignant scene occurs when Gwendlyn presents a recorded voicemail message from years previously. The voice is unmistakable, the words selected with care, betraying a combination of exasperation, concealment, and veiled manipulation. During the playback of the recording, time appears to stand still in the room. All listeners are under the burden of history, the accumulation of years of tension, misunderstanding, and unspoken discord. Christine's hand shoots to her mouth, suppressing a gasp. Meri slouches forward, tears welling, the hurt of old betrayals surging through her senses. Even Janelle, who tends to stay aloof, is struck by the painful exposure of personal history. Kody sits stiffly, a blend of shock and fear on his face. This recording, like Gwendlyn's papers, is a finely targeted arrow striking at the core of the family's history. Gwendlyn stands still, her measured eyes taking in the room. She is aware of the effect it has hit home with. The courtroom itself is weighty, electric with emotion and expectation. Each family member is compelled to face not only the monetary repercussions of her lawsuit, but the emotional repercussions of a life spent in layers of secrecy and repressed conflict. The next revelation will make the Browns wonder about every decision they've ever made. By the end of Section 3, the Brown family is clearly shaken. Every coalition, every secret, every in-house chat now seems like it could be brought up against them. Gwendlyn has systematically taken down facades, laying bare raw nerves, hidden agendas, and insidious betrayals. The $920,000 judgment is not so much a number anymore. It's a symbol of emotional, financial, and relational repercussions coming together in one firecracker courtroom drama. As the last bell rings and the session comes to a close, the Browns remain in silence, saturated with the full weight of Gwendlyn's careful plan. Even the judge appears to recline, a subtle recognition that this case has moved beyond usual courtroom drama. It's now an exercise in human emotion planning and the fine-tuned dance of family life revealed under intense scrutiny. Tomorrow the most surprising face-off occurs, and it might forever alter everything for the Browns. The courtroom is especially somber today, with the late afternoon sun pouring in through the tall windows, casting long shadows on the highly polished floors. A gentle breeze holds the smell of old leather and aged paper, mixed with the anxious anticipation of the onlookers. Everybody knows today's session might alter the direction of the $920,000 judgment for good. Gwendlyn stands up, her stance relaxed, her face impassive, but there is an introspective intensity burning within her eyes that promptly commands attention. Kody sits tensed in his chair, his hands clutching the rim of the table. He has ridden out storms previously: media attention, family conflicts, and the inescapable demands of public life. But nothing has armed him for this. This is beyond a fiscal reckoning. It's a public disintegration of his offstage life, a careful laying bare of each concealed strain, unexpressed grievance, and veiled betrayal. The burden weighs upon him like something tangible,
What follows next will surprise the Browns and viewers alike and force them to question everything they believed they understood. Gwendlyn opens the session by summoning the next witness, a family friend of long standing who has watched the Brown family's inner dynamics for years. The witness gets up slowly, looking around the room with nervous eyes. Gwendlyn's questions open gently, almost chatty, but one at a time gradually ratchets up the tension. She guides the witness through a sequence of financial and personal transactions, quietly revealing decisions made behind the scenes, broken promises and veiled manipulations that favored some members of the family while leaving others in the dark. Christine's fists curl in her lap, jaw clenched as she listens. She has always been quick, strong, but even she feels the bite of exposure. Robyn leans forward slightly toward Kody, whispering, but he's already intently engaged with the weight of each of these revelations. The air in the room is charged with tension, every word striking like a hammer on the delicate structure of family trust. Buckle up. Gwendlyn is about to drop a bomb that will rock the Browns to their very foundation. The witness pauses, then lets fall a revelation that makes waves throughout the room. A well-guarded secret about hidden deals and confidential choices. Choices that have quietly shaped family dynamics for decades. Kody's eyes go wide, his face blanching as he comprehends the extent of what is being revealed. Even the judge sits forward, drawn in by the complexity and the potential. Meri swallows hard, her hands shaking a little. Memories she had suppressed, fights long past and intimate disputes she had wished would stay secret now rise up in full color. The emotional burden is so great as to be almost crushing, bearing down on every member of the family with relentless power. Every fake smile and scripted moment recorded on reality television now seems tenuous, a facade hiding the complicated tapestry of secrets that Gwendlyn has started to unravel. Gwendlyn then turns to a series of emails between Kody and several family members. They look innocuous enough at first glance. Polite, utilitarian, dry. But as she points out certain phrases, undertones, and timing differences, the emails expose underlying agendas, favoritism, and insidious manipulations no one had ever suspected. The court audience gasps softly, feeling the drama build. The next bombshell is so astounding that it may redefine the family's dynamics forever. Kody leans forward, urgently whispering to his attorney, but even he is not immune to losing his poise. Gwendlyn's diligent preparation cannot be denied. Each paper, each email, each personal story is carefully prepared to reveal the truth. She doesn't hurry, she walks the room deliberately, her voice firm, measured, and authoritative. Robyn's face is strained, her features a combination of fear and determination. She had attempted to keep the family harmonious, to be a stabilizing element through decades of complicated family life. But now even her pull proves inadequate. Gwendlyn's approach is scalpel-like, laying bare each fault line, each unspoken tension, each emotional fissure with precision. The most shocking one is when Gwendlyn produces a private audio recording. The voice is unmistakable, Kody's, recorded years before in a closed conversation. The words, placid on the surface, speak of hidden power plays, personal complaints, and calculated manipulations. As the tape is played, the room hangs in the balance, all listeners enthralled and disturbed. Hang in there. The next bit of evidence could totally blow everything the Browns believed was solid. Christine gasps, covering her mouth in her hand. Her thoughts are racing, playing back old conversations, secret decisions, and cunning manipulations. Meri dabs at a tear on her eye, the toll of all those years of secrets finally apparent. Even Janelle, notorious for having a poker face, cannot conceal the combination of shock and fear. Gwendlyn stands there, allowing the courtroom to register the shock of the revelation. She does not respond immediately. That silence is itself a weapon, allowing the emotional weight to build. Kody's attorney steps in last, trying to defuse the blow, but Gwendlyn is prepared for the response, striking back with precision, drawing out inconsistencies, leaving the Browns stumbling to regain control. The afternoon session is heated as Gwendlyn rolls out a timeline, documenting thoroughly financial choices, private exchanges, and undisclosed arrangements. Every item is linked, creating an intricate web of responsibility and discovery. The Browns are clearly shaken, their unspoken silence a reflection of the magnitude of Gwendlyn's plan. You won't believe the drama that is about to ensue, it will leave the family stunned. Meri glances at Christine and Janelle, seeking reassurance but finding none. They are all caught in the whirlwind, exposed, vulnerable, and unable to predict the next revelation. The courtroom air is thick, heavy with anticipation and emotion. Gwendlyn's next move promises to be the most explosive of the day. At last, Gwendlyn summons her most important witness, a person who intimately knows the family's financial transactions and private business. The witness edges gingerly to the stand, nervously eyeing the Browns. As Gwendlyn starts questioning, the witness shares information no one anticipated coming up. Secret loans, implicit understandings, and backroom bargains that have remained in the closet for years. Every assertion falls like a small bomb, further unbalancing the family.
The following testimony is a bombshell. It might make everything different for the Browns' future. Kody's face whitens as he listens. The carefully built image of control and harmony he upheld is being torn apart before his eyes. Robyn clutches his arm momentarily, attempting to ground him, but even her tranquil face is disrupted. The witness testifies to instances of lies, cunning manipulations, and decisions that were deliberately concealed. The emotional and financial stakes become painfully clear. Christine leans forward, whispering urgently to herself, her mind racing through decades of interactions, agreements, and unspoken conflicts. The courtroom watches, captivated by the mixture of raw emotion and meticulous evidence. Meri's lips tremble as she realizes how deeply the private and public aspects of their lives have been intertwined, and how much is now exposed. Gwendlyn stops again, her gaze scanning the room. She knows the effect of her ploy. The Browns are on the ropes, defenses breached, and the courtroom is transfixed. Every disclosure, every paper, every veiled insinuation drives the family closer to a point of no return. The most dramatic confrontation is soon to happen, and it might redefine each relationship in the Brown household. As the session is almost over, tensions boil to the surface. Kody gets to his feet briefly, attempting to defend himself, but Gwendlyn has anticipated every argument, answering with devastating accuracy and authority. The courtroom waits, the intensity of the drama unfolding almost choking. The $920,000 judgment is no longer figures on a page. It is now a symbol of responsibility, revelation, and emotional accounting. At the conclusion of Section 4, the Browns are seated in shocked silence, shaken and drained. Gwendlyn's plan has been meticulous, deliberate, and ruthlessly efficient. Each secret, each underlying tension, each subtle manipulation has been revealed. The emotional and financial costs have never been greater, and the family is now confronted with a truth that will no longer let them turn away. Tomorrow, the most explosive of encounters is happening, and it will have the Browns stunned like never before. The courtroom is oppressive, with the late sun throwing long shadows across the highly polished floors. The atmosphere is charged with expectation, each spectator straining forward, tense yet eager. Gwendlyn stands with cool precision, her face impassive, but the glint in her eyes reveals a subdued intensity. Each member of her family present in the room is aware that this session today might redefine the Browns' destiny forever. Kody sits stiff, fingers tapping anxiously against the table's edge. For months he'd rehearsed for this, attempting to anticipate every contention, every question, every underhanded move. But Gwendlyn's strategy is cutthroat, calculated, and impeccably timed. It's no longer a courtroom fight anymore. It's an all-out emotional and economic accounting. Every sentence, every movement, every bit of testimony is calculated to tear down the sophisticated walls the Browns have built for decades. What's going to come next will leave the Browns and TV viewers stunned. You won't believe the news that's about to unfold. Gwendlyn opens strongly, speaking directly to the judge, her voice strong but measured. Your Honor, what we are about to expose is not merely a financial anomaly. It is a tapestry of personal choices, secret manipulations, and shattered trust that has touched each and every member of this family. The papers, The tapes and the witnesses will exhibit a pattern that cannot be denied. Christine's hands clench into fists, her jaw clenched as she listens. Her gaze flashes nervously towards Robyn, who's leaning forward a fraction, whispering to Kody, but he's already lost in the drama unfolding. The air is charged with tension, almost palpable, like a storm waiting to unleash itself. Gwendlyn summons to the stand a witness who had been a family mediator. Their testimony, innocuous enough on its surface, turns almost instantaneously volatile. They discuss private talks, undertows of tension, and simmering resentments that have been skillfully concealed from the public eye. The courtroom responds with muted gasps, the accumulation of years of hidden conflict starting to bear down on all present. Brace yourself, the next secret revealed could change the course of the $920,000 judgment forever. Meri fidgets in her seat, her hands shaking ever so slightly. She remembers bitter arguments, instances of disappointment and frustration, and the unspoken resentment that accumulated over the years. Every disclosure pierces at her very heart, making her feel naked and defenseless. Kody looks at her, seeing the common pain, but feeling the full brunt of the courtroom examination himself. Gwendlyn's questions sharpen, hone as she takes the witness on a walk through emails, letters, and secret deals. Each item of evidence, subtle at first, gradually gains strength in an intricate tale of secret agendas, favoritism, and deceptions. The Browns appear shaken. Even the judge leans forward, intrigued by the secret web Gwendlyn has spun. Christine's eyes well up with tears as she listens, the emotional toll of the revelations bearing down on her. She reclines, attempting to get herself together, but the tension is too much. Robyn's clutching Kody's arm, her head spinning with the ramifications. Every carefully concealed aspect of the family's history is now in the harsh light of public scrutiny. You won't believe the next shocker. It's a bombshell that will change everything. The courtroom is on hold as Gwendlyn presents a collection of financial records, revealing surprise transfers, secret debts, and mysterious transactions. Kody's attorney fidgets uncomfortably, knowing that each piece of paper makes Gwendlyn's case look stronger. The Browns are stuck in shock, taking in the extent of what's being exposed. Meri gropes for her handkerchief, wiping at threatening tears. The emotional burden of the disclosures is almost too much to bear. Every document, every email, every discrete detail lays bare years of calculated positioning and behind-the-scenes battles. Gwendlyn's plan is masterful. She systematically peels away the Brown family veneer, revealing weakness and stress at every turn. Wait for it. The following revelation will have the family second-guessing all of their decisions. Gwendlyn takes a moment to allow the tension to build before calling forward the next witness, an old family business associate. The witness testifies about secret meetings, secret agreements, and manipulations that play into the $920,000 judgment firsthand. Every witness testimony weighs in favor of Gwendlyn's masterfully built case, uncovering the extent of the family's internal struggles. Christine slouches forward, narrowing her eyes. She had taken great pride in being the one who could handle family politics with intelligence and poise, but even she is cornered. Robyn looks over at Kody, her expression pinched with worry, sensing the precarious balance that has been upset. Emotions ride higher than ever before, and the courtroom is utterly riveted. Hold on tight. The next moment will have the Browns and audience utterly shocked. Gwendlyn then presents a series of private letters exchanged over several years. On the surface, they appear polite, even affectionate, but under her careful guidance, they reveal frustration, disappointment, and subtle power struggles. Each sentence, each carefully chosen word, exposes hidden tensions and unspoken resentments. Meri's hands shake as she reads silently along with the letters, memories of old conflicts flooding back. Kody sits forward, absorbing the emotional impact. Robyn feels the weight of each revelation, knowing that the delicate family balance has been shattered. Christine gasps softly, her eyes welling with tears as she realizes just how much of the family's private life has been laid bare. The next confrontation will shock even the most loyal family members, and you won't see it coming. Gwendlyn summons the last witness of the day, an individual with close familiarity of financial settlements and personal conflicts within the family. His testimony is sharp, specific, and devastating. Secret debts, hidden agreements, and covert manipulations become public, each piling on the evidence for the $920,000 verdict. The Browns are visibly shaken, their carefully constructed veneer shattered by the stress. Kody tries to counter, but Gwendlyn is prepared for each alibi, firing back with accuracy and force. The courtroom gasps as the Browns face years of covert choices and personal disputes brought into the open for all to see. The emotional and economic stakes collide, sending the family into a tailspin. Tomorrow the biggest bombshell yet will strike, and it may alter life for the Browns forever. As the session concludes, the Browns sit in dumbfounded silence. With each disclosure, they have been left bare, vulnerable and doubting their own choices. Gwendlyn's calculated game has been systematic and ruthlessly effective. Each hidden truth, each behind-the-scenes tension, each covert betrayal has come to the surface. The $920,000 judgment is no longer a statistic. It is the emotional, relational, and financial toll of years of careful plotting and silent warring. Even the judge appears enthralled, a silent recognition that the case has long passed a standard courtroom hearing. It's become an experiment in human emotion, tactics, and family dynamics laid bare under relentless examination. Comment below. Who do you believe was most impacted by Gwendlyn's explosive testimony? The courtroom is hushed, almost suspiciously so as proceedings begin. There is an electric tension that hangs in the air like a heavy fog that refuses to disperse. The late evening sun casts its rays through the tall windows, forming stretching shadows that run ripples on the bright floor. Each family member is seated nervously, knowing that today's hearing could forever alter the course of their lives. Gwendlyn ascends in deliberate steps, her dignity commanding respect. She does not hurry. She lets the space sense the burden of her presence before she utters a word. Your Honor, today we shall reveal more than mere financial imbalances. We shall witness how choices, small and great, have caused ripples of strife that have influenced the very fabric of this family, she declares. Her tone is even, but with an unmistakable force that instantly shifts every eye's attention her way. Kody sits stiff, his fingers tapping anxiously upon the wood of the table. He has weathered hardship, criticism, and scrutiny before, but nothing so extensive as the careful deconstruction of his inner world presented to him today. The prize is large. Not only the $920,000 judgment, but the emotional toll that promises to disrupt the family. What unfolds next will stun the Browns and have viewers wondering about every secret they've ever held. Gwendlyn summons her first witness of the day, a previous financial advisor with inside information on the family's finances. The advisor emerges hesitantly to the stand, looking nervously at Kody. Gwendlyn's line of questioning begins softly, chatty even, but increasingly intensifies, revealing inconsistencies in testimony, discrepancies between ledgers, and subtle manipulations of funds over the years. Every revelation is like a small bomb, ruffling the Browns' equanimity and shaking the court environment. Christine's hands clench in her lap, her jaw tensed as she listens. Robyn leans in toward Kody, whispering under her breath, but he hardly registers what she says, overwhelmed by the burden of the revelations unfolding. The atmosphere is thick with anticipation of what is to come. Hang on, the next revelation told will irretrievably alter the Browns' relationships. The witness describes individual instances of covert transfers and mysterious financial movements. Initially they appear trivial, but Gwendlyn deliberately illustrates how individual choices were cumulative over time and had produced a complicated web of responsibility, favors, and unforeseen outcomes. The Browns remain seated transfixed, having understood that what had initially appeared as trivial, insignificant choices have resulted in a chain of evidence now spelling liability. Meri swallows hard, her hands shaking as she remembers old family arguments, intimate squabbles, and secrets that she had hoped to keep hidden. Memories long suppressed surface with sharp clarity,
each one hitting her like a stark bolt of lightning. Kody's face goes pale as he looks at her, his eyes widening at the implication that they can no longer escape. Gwendlyn's approach is relentless. She moves from physical evidence to intimate correspondence, displaying emails and text messages that, while innocuous looking on the surface, expose favoritism, manipulations, and hidden resentments that have quietly influenced family dynamics for years. The courtroom buzzes with murmured shock as the Browns' intimate lives are exposed under public gaze. The next bombshell is so surprising it might tear it all down. Christine leans forward, her eyes narrowing, lips compressed. Robyn's grip on Kody's arm tightens as the emotional impact of Gwendlyn's case hits home. Each quiet conversation, each subtle movement, each long-ago argument is now a possible piece of evidence, and the Browns are trying to keep their cool. Gwendlyn stops for a moment, allowing tension to simmer before presenting the most emotionally charged evidence so far, a series of letters written over years. They seem polite, even affectionate at first sight, but with her gentle prodding, frustration, anger, and gentle manipulation are revealed. Every well-chosen word uncovers a crack in relationships long assumed rock solid. Meri dabs at her tears, her mind racing through the ramifications. Kody leans forward, aware of the emotional repercussions of each intimate conversation now publicly revealed. Christine whispers in shock, attempting to grasp the extent of betrayal uncovered in the letters. Robyn tightens Kody's hand, lending silent support as the emotional intensity builds. You won't believe the showdown coming next. It will leave the Browns and the courtroom reeling. Gwendlyn calls forward another witness, someone intimately familiar with the family's private financial arrangements and personal interactions. The witness provides testimony about hidden agreements, private negotiations, and subtle manipulations that directly impact the $920,000 judgment. Each statement adds weight to Gwendlyn's meticulously constructed narrative, and the Browns appear increasingly cornered, exposed, and emotionally vulnerable. Kody tries to defend himself, but Gwendlyn is waiting for him, firing back with sharp questions and proof. The courtroom waits with bated breath, the air thick with tension. Every discovery, every document, every hint of it makes her case stronger, and the Browns run around trying to regain control. The next revelation will stun the Browns to their core, and it may turn everything around. The most climactic moment comes as Gwendlyn presents an audio recording taken years ago, a recorded private conversation between Kody and one of the wives. The words, serene on the surface, expose slight manipulations, concealed frustrations, and personal grievances. The courtroom falls silent, enthralled by the gravity of what is being heard. Christine's eyes grow wide, her hand snapping to her mouth in shock. Meri scoots forward, her eyes brimming with tears, as long-buried feelings overwhelm her in reaction to the recording. Kody's face is white, his knuckles white as they clutch the table. Even Janelle, usually calm and collected, feels the bite of personal history exposed. Gwendlyn lets the tape sink in, before proceeding with questions that connect its material to the financial and personal proof that has already been put on the stand. The Browns' carefully constructed veneer continues to disintegrate, exposing vulnerability and emotional shattering. Robyn speaks in a hushed tone to Kody, trying to calm him, but the heat is too much. Hold on, the next bombshell discovery will have the Browns questioning everything they ever thought they knew. The session heats up as Gwendlyn lays out a chronology of choices, interactions, and confrontations, connecting personal actions to the family's larger financial and emotional context. Each paper, each witness statement, each wily maneuver is carefully placed to disclose the gradual buildup of years of concealed strains. The Browns remain in stunned silence, taking in the full weight of Gwendlyn's skillfully presented case. Meri looks over at Christine and Janelle, seeking comfort but receiving none. The family's relationships are being stretched to the breaking point in real time, under the constant glare of the public eye. Kody squirms uncomfortably, aware that monetary and emotional penalties are woven together, and that the $920,000 verdict is merely one aspect of the tempest they're in. The next fight may alter the Browns' lives forever.
You won't know it's coming. And lastly, Gwendlyn calls her last witness of the day, a former business associate of the family with knowledge of both financial and personal dealings. Their testimony verifies the secret transfers, unreported agreements, and backhanded manipulations, bringing undeniable heft to the allegation. The Browns sit stunned, the reality of exposure finally setting in. Christine blinks away tears. Robyn clutches Kody's hand in a tight grip, and Meri pushes back in her chair, overwhelmed by the emotional and financial consequences. Kody gropes for words, knowing that all the things he's done throughout the years have now been carefully analyzed and exposed. Tomorrow, the most explosive secret so far will strike, and it will destroy the family forever. At the end of Section 6, the Browns are emotionally drained, shaken visibly and vulnerable. Gwendlyn's tactic has been meticulous, accurate, and wonderfully effective. All the secrets, all the tension, all the tacit treachery have been revealed. The $920,000 judgment now is not only a financial penalty, but the climax of years of emotional nuance, secrecy, and relational tension. The courtroom itself appears to be cognizant of the seriousness of the events unfolding. Even the judge reclines ever so slightly, a slight recognition that what is presented before them is no longer mere legal jargon, but a delicate examination of human feeling, trust, and domestic dynamics subjected to extreme stress. Comment below. Who do you believe will be most affected by tomorrow's jaw-dropping revelation? The courtroom is charged, virtually shaking with expectation. The late afternoon sunlight streams through the high windows, casting stripes of light across the highly polished wooden floors and drawing attention to the strained faces of the Brown family. All onlookers lean forward, the heavy weight of the $920,000 judgment hanging heavy in the room like a thundercloud. Gwendlyn stands up deliberately, her self-control commanding authority. The instant she speaks, everyone is keenly attentive to her every word. Your Honor, she starts, her voice steady but resolute. Today we present the final pieces of information that will paint not only financial irregularities, but the complex mesh of personal deceptions, backroom dealings, and manipulations that have bedeviled this family for years. Kody fidgets uncomfortably in his chair, looking at Robyn, Christine, Janelle, and Meri. His fingers beat out an anxious rhythm on the smooth tabletop. He had weathered public criticism before, media scrutiny and past disagreements, but nothing could prepare him for the painstaking unwinding of his intimate life now taking place. What follows will stun the Browns and have viewers wondering about everything that was believed about the family's history. Gwendlyn summons the evening's first witness, an old family acquaintance with intimate familiarity with both business and personal dealings. The witness emerges, clearly nervous, looking at Kody with a combination of fear and determination. Gwendlyn starts with soft, friendly questions, but slowly builds up, revealing secret agreements, subtle manipulations, and private conflicts never before disclosed to the public. Christine leans forward, her jaw clenched, hands in fists. Robyn squeezes Kody's hand, speaking quietly, but even she can't keep the tension at bay. Each disclosure is like a little earthquake, rocking the foundation of the family's well-guarded image. Hold on. The next secret disclosed could forever alter the Browns' relationships. The witness testifies about episodes of clandestine meetings, unreported money transfers, and clandestine negotiations that have shaped the dynamics of the family for years. What is seemingly trivial soon gives way to a complicated matrix of responsibility and clandestine agendas. The Browns remain seated in stunned silence, aware that even the smallest decisions have led to the unfolding tempest. Meri gulps hard, trembling fingers shaking slightly. Years of suppressed memories come flooding back, scent whispered fights, covert betrayals, and unvoiced resentments. Kody's eyes go wide as he processes the ramifications. Each covert choice, each secluded talk, now appears amplified under Gwendlyn's unforgiving observation. Gwendlyn refocuses from fiscal records to private correspondence. She introduces emails and text messages, innocuous in appearance, but descriptive of favoritism, veiled manipulations, and tensions that have progressed quietly to reshape the family's relationships. The courtroom whispers softly, The Browns are visibly shaken. You won't believe the next turn. It may unravel all the Browns believed they knew. Christine reclines, a hand shooting to her mouth in shock. Robyn looks at Kody, alarm written across her face, understanding that the fragile equilibrium she's attempted to keep is further eroding. Meri wipes away tears, her thoughts running through decades of repressed memories, now open for everyone to view. Gwendlyn hesitates before presenting the most emotionally intense evidence so far, a sequence of intimate letters over a period of years. They seem courteous, even tender at first reading, but with her thoughtful hand, they unfold in resentment, manipulation, and suppressed grievances. Every sentence pierces deeper, laying bare cracks in the family relationships which had been repressed for years. The next surprise will astound even the most devoted members of the family. Keep reading. Meri shudders as she reads in silence with the letters, the pressure of bottled-up emotions on the verge of consuming her. Kody leans forward, reading the emotional impact of each private conversation made public. Christine gasps, tears welling up in her eyes. Robyn clutches Kody's hand firmly, lending silent support as the tension rises. The Browns' next witness, a person with inside information on the family's private agreements and monetary arrangements. Their words authenticate clandestine transfers, surreptitious deals, and manipulations directly affecting the $920,000 judgment. Every utterance lands like a ton of bricks, further undermining the Browns and revealing weaknesses they cannot avoid. The next thing that happens can burst the Browns' world, and you'll never see it coming. Gwendlyn next introduces a sound recording made years ago, an intimate dialogue between Kody and one of his wives. The words smooth on the surface, betray hidden manipulations and personal complaints. The courtroom falls silent. All listeners are held by the force of the revelation. Christine's hand rushes to her lips, eyes wide with shock. Meri has tears streaming down her face, long suppressed feelings rising up in reaction to the tape. Kody's face goes white, his hands clenched around the table as the truth hits home. Janelle, normally calm on the surface, is trying not to show her own shock. Hold on, the next battle will change the Browns' lives forever. The courtroom tension escalates as Gwendlyn meticulously links the audio recording to financial and personal evidence previously presented. Every revelation, every document, every subtle implication strengthens her case, leaving the Browns scrambling to maintain composure. The $920,000 judgment now carries not just financial consequences, but emotional and relational weight that cannot be ignored. Meri looks at Christine and Janelle for reassurance but gets none. The family's relationships are under severe strain, each member compelled to face the long-buried truths and what they mean. Kody squirms uncomfortably, cognizant that the judgments run far deeper than money. They risk reshaping the family's entire dynamic. The next explosive revelation will take the Browns by storm, and you won't want to miss it. Gwendlyn finally calls the last witness of the day, a person with intimate familiarity of the family's business transactions and interpersonal relationships. The evidence is specific, heartbreaking, and irrefutable. Concealed arrangements, secret transactions, and covert manipulations are brought to the surface, each contributing vital credibility to the complaint. The Browns sit in frozen silence, the enormity of revelations battering. Christine dabs at tears in her eyes. Robyn clutches Kody's hand more tightly. Meri relaxes against the couch, burdened by emotional and economic repercussions. Kody grapples to reply, knowing that each of his choices throughout the years has been examined and displayed for the world to see. Tomorrow the verdict will be announced, and it might destroy the family utterly. At the end of Section 7, the Browns are emotionally exhausted, visibly shaken and vulnerable. Gwendlyn's tactic has been systematic, careful and universally destructive. Each secret, tension and implicit betrayal has been revealed. The $920,000 judgment is more than dollars, it is the culmination of years of secrecy, emotional tension and relational struggle. Even the judge relaxes a little in his seat, a tacit recognition that this is no longer just legal process, but an examination of human emotion, trust, and family relationships laid bare under intense scrutiny. The courtroom is electric, the atmosphere practically humming with expectation. All eyes are on the judge, the Browns and Gwendlyn, standing calmly, exuding quiet confidence. This is it, the moment that will seal the fate of the $920,000 judgment, and perhaps redefine all relationships within the Brown family. Months of preparation, news, and battles have built up to this moment. Kody sits stiff, his hands clenched around the table's edge. Robyn leans forward, her hand brushing against his arm in subdued support. But even her level head shows a quiet tension. Christine sits with her arms crossed, her eyes narrowed, every muscle in her body stretched tight with tension. Meri dabs her eyes discreetly, bracing herself for whatever judgment is to be delivered. Janelle sits quietly, observing the room, her face impassive. What happens next will shock the Browns and leave viewers questioning everything about their past. The judge clears his throat, pushing up his glasses as he rifles through the last of the documents. The room is silent, punctuated only by the soft whisper of papers and the gentle suck of breath. Upon consideration of the evidence, testimony, and documents submitted, the judge starts. The court concludes that substantial discrepancies and manipulations have taken place, justifying the financial judgment as sought by the plaintiff, Gwendlyn. A shiver of shock runs through the Browns. Kody's face goes white, his eyes wide as the words register. Robyn squeezes his hand, speaking in a hiss, but he hardly registers her, still trying to take in the enormity of what was said. Christine's jaw clenches as fists bunch up in her hands. Meri releases a soft, barely audible gasp, tears welling up once more in her eyes. Gwendlyn moves into position, holding out the last evidence. An exhaustive analysis of the $920,000 judgment, from financial discrepancies to concealed transfers, to undisclosed arrangements. The painstakingly prepared presentation brooks no dispute, and even the Browns' attorneys look momentarily taken aback by the precision and extent of her case. The judge goes on, explaining the reasons behind the court's decision. Each of the points emphasizes not only poor financial management, but also emotional manipulation, nepotism, and choices that impacted several members of the family over the years. The courtroom is in stunned silence except for gasps and shuffling of feet, the Browns' expressions ranging from shock to extreme dismay. You won't believe what fight ensues. It will leave everyone amazed. Kody finally speaks, his voice strained but firm, trying to gain control. Your Honor, I see the ruling, but I reiterate that many of the decisions were made in the best interests of the family, he declares. His words linger in the air, but Gwendlyn's peaceful, unflinching gaze indicates that the court has already reached a decision. Christine leans forward sharply. Best interests? She snaps, her voice trembling with emotion. We've been manipulated, lied to, and treated unfairly for years. This judgment is only the beginning of holding everyone accountable. Her words pierce the courtroom, carrying the full weight of decades of suppressed frustration and resentment. Meri's voice breaks as she adds, it's more than just money. It's about trust, respect, and being treated as equals within the family. The room is charged with raw emotion. The Browns' carefully maintained image of harmony is completely shattered. The next moment will shock the Browns and the courtroom. It's a twist no one saw coming. Gwendlyn finally reveals one last surprise. An unsuspecting whistleblower, who has not come forward until now. This witness testifies to secret discussions and clandestine deals that not only support the ruling, but also reveal even more webbed layers of manipulation and deceit. The Browns sit transfixed, their faces a combination of shock, outrage, and powerlessness. Robyn glances at Kody, her face etched with concern. We've tried to protect the family, she whispers. But even her words cannot counter the emotional impact of the revelation. Christine leans back, tears streaming, a mixture of vindication and sorrow playing across her face. Meri wipes her cheeks, feeling both relief and heartbreak. The judge finally rules, upholding the $920,000 judgment, and calling for transparency, accountability, and honesty in the future.
The Browns are left to learn the full significance of their actions and choices. The courtroom, once a theater of careful planning and disclosure, now is a theater of emotional accounting. As the court session closes, the family files out of the courtroom, each one lost in thought. Kody moves with a burdened pace, the weight of judgment bearing down on him. Robyn hovers near, providing silent comfort, while Christine's posture exudes defiance and anguish. Meri grips her belongings, remembering decisions made and their aftermaths over years. Janelle moves quietly, the gravity of the day weighing heavily with every step. Outside the courtroom, the family is confronted by the media, cameras flashes lighting up their faces. Every sentence, every look, every little gesture is analyzed. They are no longer reality TV personalities. They are people facing the outcomes of secret choices, old conflicts, and open-endedness. The aftermath will uncover secrets even more tantalizing than the courtroom struggle, and fans won't want to miss it. That evening, the family comes together in private, trying to reconcile, make sense, and find some measure of comprehension. Words are spoken, apologies given, and feelings poured out. The reckoning was perhaps financial, but the actual accounting is emotional. Each member wrestles with their own decisions, the ramifications of their actions, and the hard work of trust building. Kody sits in quiet contemplation, the magnitude of the day sinking in. We can't erase the past, he whispers, but perhaps this is what we need to come face to face with reality and begin anew. Robyn places a comforting hand on his shoulder, nodding unobtrusively. Christine is still standoffish, grappling with the layers of deception and revelation.
Meri provides tentative overtures toward healing, knowing that mending is possible, but only if it's done with candor and responsibility. What's next for the Browns is anyone's guess, but one thing is certain: nothing will ever be the same again. The tale ends with the family united, physically proximate yet emotionally shattered, understanding that the $920,000 verdict is not only an end but a beginning. The courtroom has exposed secrets, revealed weaknesses, and compelled confrontations that could no longer remain unseen. The Browns depart with a deep sense of introspection, emotional weight, and the daunting challenge of mending relationships in the aftermath of public exposure. The last few seconds hang on every member, immersing us in the naked human emotion: shock, grief, relief, and guarded hope. The verdict is in, but the road to accountability, reconciliation, and self-discovery has only just begun. Leave your comment below. If you were standing in the Browns' shoes, how would you restore trust after such a revelation?